might be a boomer, but you sound like a pipsqueak. You don't even know how old I am. No! You little shit. You didn't win the game, I lost it!
Make sure you know where he is, because he understands how to
Call
get
that
open
a throw?
in key situations.
I might be old, but at least I don't still piss my pants.
Protect you and your loved ones with Crackem VPN.
Ever heard the game marry, kill? Okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna give you 3 people, and you're gonna decide who will you marry, who will you who will you kill?
Okay.
Jerry Jones, Dak Prescott, and Tony Romo.
Marry Jerry. He's got all the monies. Probably Tony. Dak Prescott. Gotta kill him.
I'm gonna Romo.
She's gonna with Romo.
I'm gonna marry Dak.
She's gonna marry Dak.
I'm gonna kill Jones.
She's gonna kill Jerry Jones. Who will you marry, kill between Jerry Jones, Dak Prescott, and then Tony Romo? I'm out.
Jerry Jones, you.
So Jerry?
Jerry Jones, you.
Okay.
You.
Who will you marry, Dak Prescott or Tony Romo? Tony Romo.
Tony Romo.
So that means you would kill Dak?
Yes.
Marry Dak, kill Jerry Jones,
Jerry Jones, poor Jerry.
Tony Romo.
Why not? He's probably one of the best commentators, announcers on the game right now.
Tony Romo? That's mine. That's mine.
Jerry Jones, right now. Right now.
You heard it here, guys. You heard it.
We need trash can.
Oh, here we go.
AJ, you have to sleep in this for the night. Yeah. Football we already got.
Anthony, Adam, AJ on the block. Dallas Cowboys swag, about to rock the flock. Canadian host to them Philly birds get mocked. Cowboys CanFan podcast gang locked. Crack 'em if you got 'em, pop tops and chill. Vancouver reppin' Dallas, show some real skill. Knockin' Philly chirps, we roast them on the grill. Crack 'em
I don't know why I'm dancing. Crack 'em if you got 'em. Welcome to the Monday Hangover. We're remoting in. We're not all in this, dudes. And Ant's technically frozen right now.
No, I'm going to say right away, sorry. I'm not hungover one little bit. I'm not hungover at all. The morning game, couldn't get into it. It was morning, weren't really drinking, feel completely fine. I'm emotionally hungover today. I'm emotionally hungover because the season is done. Put a fork in it, start talking about drafts, start talking about maybe the Cowboys trade people away. At this point, the season's done. It's gone with the wind. Are we going to have fun with it for the rest of the year? Yeah. Or are we going to keep streaming? Are we going to keep doing the hangovers, the main events, and the Sunday streams? Hell yeah, we are. But I feel emotionally hungover today.
Yeah, I
agree.
I agree as well. I think you basically said what Alex and I were both
Did you guys expect the season to be done November 3rd?
No.
The season's gone. After yesterday, at the end of the game, it's like you look at, and I know we're hopping right into it, because I'm emotionally drained. You look at the teams that are in the wild card spots. You have the Minnesota Vikings, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Green Bay Packers. All of those teams have 6 wins. That's almost unheard of. Usually there's like at least a battle for the 6th and 7th spot, but at 3 wins and those teams all doubling our wins, you can kiss the season goodbye. Not to mention stacking the injuries that we have with Dak Prescott being out. I know I'm diarrheaing with word vomit right now, but Dak's out, CD's hurt. It's just the season's gone. Gone with the wind.
Yeah, it's time to, let's see. I mean, look, this is the time now where people are going to call us flip-floppers, but now is like, okay, now you put in Trey Lance to try to squeak out something for, I mean, it's just too bad that it won't matter. I guess we do still have him on contract for 1 more year, right? But it's such a hefty price. I don't see anyone picking him up, taking that contract. So that trade is gone anyways by tomorrow. And then there's a couple other guys I'd like to see, like get Flanoy out there more. So there's some positives that we can at least spin on this to try to get through the rest of the season. But to answer your question directly, no, I did not think. I was thinking it's going to be tight. At the start of the season when we saw how Daniels was playing, I was like, okay, now we've got another competitor because I figured we're going to be competing against Philly again. That's just typical. But the only thing we can say for sure, I guess, is that, again, the NFC Beast will not repeat a number one spot.
Yep. Then that's since like 2002 or something crazy. No one in the NFC Beast has repeat won the division. And I thought that, man, I'll be honest. And I feel this way after every good Cowboys season. And maybe I couldn't see it and I was blinded by bias. But there was a lot of people calling for the Cowboys being 7-10, 8-9, that kind of range. And I just didn't buy into that. One thing I want to talk about, and I know it sounds kind of like a scapegoat or like a bitch move, but you can't tell me without Deron Bland, DeMarcus Lawrence, Marshawn Nealand, Micah Parsons, these guys were not squeaking out or at least making the Niners game and that game yesterday a bit closer. I get it. Every team has injuries. The teams that end up making the Super Bowl are also the healthiest teams. So it's part of the NFL, but it's just got this like I said, I'm emotionally hungover. I'm trying to reach to figure out. I'm trying to figure out, why do I feel this way? Like, why am I doing this to myself? But I'm just reaching and trying to cope, and I'm not completely ready to cope yet or move on, I guess.
Well, I feel like, is there some way that we can still clinch the playoffs? But
playoffs.
I feel, I'm a little lost right now because I was expecting us to at least make that wild card round. I'll be upset if towards the end of the season we win out a bunch of the games, and it's just like the Cowboys regular season games here where we have stat padding and garbage time. But
it's impossible. I'm going to say it right now. It's impossible to make the postseason. It's just there's too much shit stacked up against them. They would have to essentially add. We talked about it, AJ and I, on the post game while you were editing yesterday. For the Cowboys to have a chance at the wild card, we figured they need about, I think, 10 wins. That they have to go 7-2 with the remaining schedule. There's zero chance of that happening.
Yeah, I mean, is that why we're both wearing our draft hats tonight?
Do you have the draft hat on? I can't see you.
Yeah.
I can't see you. So
yeah, and we're both
rocking it. We're in draft mode, baby. We're on to the 2025 NFL draft. It feels like.
So can you guys both sit and enjoy now week to week? Are you going to be excited to watch any of the games? Now when you know that the playoffs are out of contention?
Playoffs.
How are you going to show up every single week as a Cowboy fan? That's my question to both of you guys.
I've never not watched a Cowboys game since I've been a fan. Do you think they've always made the postseason? Do you think they've always been, at this point of the year, postseason contenders? No, they haven't. You show up and you watch it, and it's probably going to be easier having you guys in studio because we can have some fun with it, and maybe it won't be as much pressure, and we can talk about it and talk our way through it. But I'll show up every single game. We're going to continue doing the stream, and this is what makes the good seasons good. When you have to sit through a bad season, and that's just how it is in football.
What I don't want to have happen, although obviously, hey, this would be fun. But Cowboys go on a 5-game win streak with whoever comes in, Rush or Lance, or maybe it's back and forth between the two, and suddenly we get our hopes back on because we're add 5 more wins on and a couple losses to those teams who have the wild card spot right now, and things are looking a lot better. The problem is, though, and you did mention a bunch of players that were injured, and if everyone came back and that happened, I think, we'd all be stoked and screaming for the Super Bowl again. But there's so much that would need to happen that I'm just going to go into the games now and just enjoy them for some football. That stress should be gone. I say that, but I'm still going to watch every game.
Every game's a game, right? You say that now, but get a couple crackums in us. Think about it. We play Philadelphia, we play Washington, we play New York, we play Philadelphia and Washington 2 more times. We play Houston. Those are games that even it doesn't matter the record, you still want your team to win.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I wanna-
like divisional games, you always want to win your divisional game. So right there's 5 games that no matter what the Cowboys' record are, we're going in there not mad, but we're going in there expecting to win, right? So it's one of those things like, and AJ, it's so funny that you say that because that's what the Cowboys are going to do. They're going to win 5 games and just do enough to fuck themselves out of a top 10 draft pick somewhere like between 13 and 17. And, you know, like I guarantee that's what's going to happen. And they're going to do enough for us to have that like little glimmer of hope. I'm telling you, I've every year, even the year the Cowboys, I think, went 6-10 during COVID. At the end of the year, the last 2 games, they still had a chance to make the postseason somehow. So it was like I was just getting kind of reeled in just enough to care. So I guarantee they're gonna do some weird shit. It just always ends up happening. And fuck Philly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The thing that I'm kind of looking for then game to game is like how can we disrupt certain teams' playoff chances? And obviously playoffs with Eagles and Washington, those are the teams we're going to want to try to mess up. And at the same time, though, now every win is kind of working against us. So who knows? It's going to be we're still going into an unknown of like what's going to happen week to week. Like you just mentioned, the worst case scenario we can have is be the last team not to make the playoffs. Playoffs.
That is that, and no one wants that, right? You obviously want to make it in the wild card round, but you don't want to finish a season that's nothing with like a mid-round draft pick, right? The only silver lining of having a shitty season is to get a good draft pick, in my mind. Like in after 2020, we ended up drafting, who was the very first Cowboys draft pick for CanFan? It was Micah Parsons.
Yep.
So the Cowboys got Micah Parsons after that 2020 COVID year. Their last season that was bad. Before that was 2015. They drafted Ezekiel Elliott, who was a beast for multiple years. So the only silver lining to having a bad season is you can get one of these players that will come in and instantly help the team. Besides Tyler Smith for the CanFan crew, we haven't seen a first-round draft pick come in and immediately help. AJ, there was, when I was editing the reaction video, you watching Mozzie Smith at the end of the game, man. I was going to edit that. I was going to edit a reaction to that tonight, which I'm going to. But you just see a guy like Mozzie Smith who wasn't on the field all game and then gets on the field. You want to see him show some fire at the end of the game when they're kneeling, and he just stands up like a bitch.
There's a $2 super chat from Fennec saying Cowboys should start Trey and see what happens.
At this point, I don't disagree. Honestly, I don't. Maybe he goes on a run. We know what we're going to get from Cooper Rush. Although Cooper Rush yesterday, with a little bit of time in there, he didn't look awful.
But he didn't look like he's going to save our season.
But granted, there was 2 drops. He had a drop by CeeDee Lamb, and he had a drop. Well, I wouldn't really call the Tolbert one a drop because it would have been an amazing catch if he pulled it in. But he did throw a touchdown. He almost ran one in before he tripped on his big floppy feet. But guys, we're into it now. We're 3-5. Our starting quarterback's out for multiple weeks. CeeDee Lamb's hurt. We still have a bunch of defensive players hurt. Like this is the worst case this season what could have happened in this season, and we're living it.
We got a couple guys to look at here though over the next few weeks, and so like younger players. Which players do you think you want to see more? I did mention already Flanoy, and I think that's kind of obvious. He's a rookie, so of course. But is there anyone else that comes to mind that maybe they will be coming back from injury? Actually, don't think anyone personally for myself, but or we just haven't seen them out on the field enough. Is there anyone that comes to mind for you guys?
Do you have one? Because I kind of have one on my brain.
You go ahead. You go ahead. I was looking at. I thought we were going to go into stats, so I was just bringing that up. But
I would like to see Hunter Lepke get some carries. If I think I'd like Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle looked awesome yesterday. But if you're gonna have to give someone else carries, don't give Dalvin Cook carries. Don't give Ezekiel Elliott carries. Give Hunter Lepke carries. See what you have. He's only in his second year. You're gonna have him under contract for 2 more seasons. Let's see what he can do running the ball. Let's see what he can get done with maybe a little bit more goal line or short distance yard attempts, right? Like that's for me, the only other guy I can think of, because I feel like we're playing with all of our backups right now in important positions.
And what about I also saw people mention Marquise Bell and One-Way Thomas if he's back from injury. I think he's injured right now.
Yeah, Marquise Bell is, or because Thomas was out there.
I thought One-Way was, but
no, Thomas was out there on the fake punt yesterday. He was lined up as the blocker, and I thought they should have just direct snapped to him and he should have ran it. But yeah, Thomas in, Bell again. I think Bell, if a linebacker gets hurt, like if an Overshown gets hurt, I think he's your best guy to move up. I'm excited to watch just guys like Overshown still, right? We know we have something in there, but I'd like to see what else he has in it. And I'm also excited to see this defense when you get Micah Parsons and Deron Bland back, to see if we do have something with this defense, right? The season's over essentially, but you can still build off of it, especially if the Joneses are expecting to keep Mike Zimmer around. Let's see what his defense can do with some starters. The defense looked a lot better yesterday. They gave up 27 points, but no one would say it was the defense's fault that they lost that game.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I do like your take on Lepke. I mean, if you look at the tandem running backs, he's out there, but he hasn't had an opportunity to get into those fullback type of runs that we see. Like, he's kind of just been out there as a blocker or like a fringe tight end. So having a different kind of 1-2 punch with the running game with Lepke would be an interesting take. I'm in the camp of mix it up between Trey and Coop. Let Coop cook, let Trey cook. See what you have with both of them. Phoenix in the chat and a couple of chat is saying that, you play Trey Lance and he starts to do well. Well, now you potentially have good trade value, because we do know, like, you're in a position where your quarterback's out.
You don't have trade value though. Tomorrow's the last day of trading.
I meant for I think they're talking about for next.
I think he's in his last year. I'm not.
Well, it'd be silly for us to re-sign Trey Lance.
No, so he is in his 4th year with the option still available. That option is $25 million.
So he's in his last year essentially.
Yeah. And no one's going to trade for some. They'll just let him go to free agency and then sign him for what he's worth.
Yeah, so essentially, it puts Trey Lance it puts him as the worst move Jerry Jones has ever made.
Oh yeah, it's awful. The only reason I want to see Trey Lance is I do want to see Trey Lance so that if he's not good, we can just put it to bed forever, right?
Yeah,
that's the main thing. I don't want him to not get an opportunity, and then there's like this hanging thing, like, well, if they would have just had Trey Lance play, that he would have been the savior. Yeah, at this point, get him in there and see what you have, because still, you're never keeping Trey Lance now that they've signed Dak Prescott. I just want there to be some closure on the Trey Lance trade. Let him play. Let's see what he's got. I imagine he's not going to do much. He's going to lose football games. But at this point, you're not hurting yourself doing that.
Yeah, and sorry, the cap hit for Lance in 2025 is $22.4 million. So
yeah, he ain't getting that 5th year.
Trey,
not happening.
Lance, take a hike, Lance.
Trade Lance.
Trade Lance.
And we don't need to see more from Cooper Rush, right? Like, who cares really? Either one who plays is what I think. But I think, yeah, if you're gonna pick something that's like a nitty or a picky fallout from that, it's like, yeah, let's just tie a bow on the Trey Lance thing. You guys were talking about Lepke, and I was just looking at his stats, because he hasn't been rushed a lot, and 3.2 yard average, but only 6 attempts, so super small sample size. But if we look at his receiving, becomes much more interesting a player. 9 receptions for 10 targets and 90 yards. So essentially could be a hybrid running back tight end type of position there. You still play him in the backfield, but he can have the effect of a tight end there.
Oh, yeah, and I think you try to get him. I think I'd be more comfortable with Lepke being our number 2 tight end than Schoonmaker right now. Honestly, like, what have we seen from Schoonmaker? At least you've seen with Lepke, when he gets the chance to catch a ball, he does something with it, right? What are Schoonmaker's stats if you compare them to Lepke's? Not better.
It's actually worse. 8 for 10 for 80 yards. So, like, same pace, but 10 yards less and 1 less catch. And Lepke actually has a 25-yard long, and Schoonmaker has a 15-yard long. So
interesting.
I mean, Lepke is out receiving Schoonmaker, although extremely small sample size for both guys.
Yeah, it's still kind of hard to tell, but maybe this is the time. Maybe you asked who
Yeah.
we'd like to see now. Schoonmaker, put him in there. Remember when we used to have the clone zone and there was times we ran 4 tight ends?
Yep.
Yes.
What happened to that, man? What happened to this creative shit? Like the offense is just, instead of talking about what players would I like to see, I'd maybe like to just see the coaching staff try something different. Sure, we might not have a chance at making the Super Bowl this year, but at least let's make these games exciting. If what you've been doing hasn't been working to this point, get crazy with it. You're more than likely going to be fired anyways. Start trying different stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideally when you're looking at and this is kind of going back to what we were talking about, how Mike McCarthy as the offensive
Is a
coordinator-
bitch. Mike McCarthy's a bitch.
Like, do we think we're gonna see anything different? No, he's gonna do something to try to salvage his season to secure his next role on a different team. So
He should just retire.
yeah, you would think so.
What's his next position? He's not getting hired as an offensive coordinator. Hopefully he gets hired by an offensive coordinator by someone in the NFC East. Hopefully the Giants hire him because he doesn't deserve to be an offensive coordinator. He hasn't adapted. He hasn't evolved with the NFL. Did we see some splashes last season when the offense was killing it? I don't even know if that has anything to do with Mike McCarthy though, as far as just the players playing better. Like Dak has not looked like himself all season. I don't know if any offensive coordinator would have helped Dak. He's looked slow. He's looked inaccurate. He's had turnovers. And I've been a huge Dak supporter, but he's looked terrible this year. There's just so many things wrong. And you guys saw that clip of Dak Prescott on the sideline talking to, I think he's talking to Trey Lance actually, saying we fucking suck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I looked at that because I was not sure that he said we at first, but I mean, I'm not a.
Or what did he say? We're
analyzer.
fucking awful, I think it was. Or we're fucking terrible or something like
Oh
that.
no, I think he said we fucking suck. But
Okay.
like, yeah, but it's hard. You could see fucking suck for sure, but the we is where I don't know. I don't know if he actually said we, but it does look like that. It's just it's hard to really confirm the we part.
Yeah.
No,
Like
agree.
he could have been mumbling from a few words there, but fucking suck definitely looks very obviously.
yeah.
Very
It does,
obvious.
and it's one of those things where when you're looking for it saying we, your brain
Yeah.
says, oh, he is saying we. He's saying we 100%. I'm an analyst for lip reading. He's saying we, but you're right.
And I wouldn't disagree
yeah.
because they do
Yeah.
suck right now. They're not good. And dudes, they had all the opportunities in the world to win that game yesterday. They did.
Yeah, TGR posted the stats for both of the team, and it's like it's not as though and again, this is where you hear people complain about stat padding in garbage time to make the games look a lot closer than they are. But the Cowboys production,
but did you see that at all yesterday? Was there pad stat or
no, because
stat padding yesterday?
Dak was sitting on the bench saying we fucking suck.
Well, that's what I mean. So I don't think that happened in yesterday's game. I do think the Cowboys had better stats. I do think they had more opportunities. They pissed away a turnover, the only turnover of the game. They did a crazy jet sweep to CeeDee Lamb on 4th and 1. They did a stupid ass fake punt on 4th and 2. Those 3 plays right there, those change games if you can do something with them. You get both those first downs on the 4th down, which I think the Atlanta Falcons went down and scored off of both of those turnovers. You're laughing. You win the game. We've said this time and time again. We just wanted to see the Cowboys have the lead in one game. And they, after their first drive, when they got up by 3, they trailed the rest of the game.
Yeah, what was the end of the first half there again? It was
21-10.
10-14, okay.
Oh, no, 14-10. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
14-10.
14-10. Okay, yeah.
Falcons, yeah.
And then
Yeah,
they
so
went up in the
but yeah, when you talk about like obviously 3rd down and 4th down efficiency was terrible for both teams. Well, 4th down efficiencies for the Falcons were 2 for 2. Cowboys were 1 and 5. But 3rd down efficiencies, we were 3 for 13. They were 4 for 13. We outbeat them in yards. We had the same amount of drives.
More turnovers,
more passing yards than them.
So that it goes down. That ad, you actually make a great point. The conversions, you were 1 for 5 on 4th down conversions.
Yeah, right here.
1 for 5. And what is it for? What was 3rd down? What were they on 3rd down?
They were 3 for 13. The Cowboys 3 for
That's
13.
the game.
Well, and look at
And
it's
what,
not
were the what were the Falcons?
4
on
for
third down?
4 for 13.
Okay, so
no,
they
it's
weren't
the
great
fourth
either.
down though. It's the fourth
Yeah.
down though.
Yeah.
1 for 5 for Cowboys, 2
Yeah.
for 2 for Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got 20% versus 100%.
Yeah.
We had
That's
7
bad. That's the game right there, man.
Yeah, and
That's the game right there. You gave up the ball 4 of 5 times on fourth downs when the Falcons, when they went for it and gut check time, they completed. And actually, the Falcons scored a touchdown on one of the fourth down plays. That was the play where not CD Lamb, where Trevon Diggs lost Mooney for the big touchdown. That was on fourth down.
Yeah, ideally, if I'm looking here and we look at the amount of plays, like Cowboys controlled the ball for most of the game, 74 to 56. We just couldn't produce when we absolutely needed to.
No, and that's football, baby. And this is we're getting our stripes as CanFan. We're in it thick and thin. We were here for the 3 12-5 seasons, and you bet your fucking ass we're gonna be here if they go 3-13. 3-14. We ain't going away, bitches. We're staying.
And another stat I saw there at that we can add on to our grievances is the 9 penalties, only for 55 yards, but still some of those penalties. And penalties are going to happen in a game, but some of them came at another crucial point, set the Cowboys back, took removed what is I missed the rush, but I remember it because when I came in, you told me it removed a rush from Rico Dowdle.
Man, so what had happened is it was a Terrence Steele false start at the start of on first down. Terrence Steele had a false start, right? So now they're starting off at 1st and 15. Rico Dowdle then runs for 11 yards. So without that penalty, Rico Dowdle runs that and gets a first down. They end up losing the ball. That was one of the times they lost it on fourth down, right? So, and then fast forward, Jake Ferguson, same shit, has a false start on a very important play. And then you have that crazy Dalvin Cook too many men one that they called on a 4th and 1 and then ended up having to punt. So just like mind farts at crucial times that stop drives from extending.
Yeah, and with the team that's on the field right now, like I do agree. You made a point early about not wanting to make it like, oh, if we had all our players, but they certainly do make a difference, if not just keeping teams more honest, right? So if we had that group of players, the original, starting lineup on both sides of the ball playing, it probably wouldn't be as impactful, but those moments, those penalties are still impactful. But you add all these things together, and it's like, okay, if you lose the game, but we're smart with our plays, there's nothing to complain about. I could swallow that a lot easier. But when we come away from like an extremely meaningful game, and all the play aside, there's all these little just coaching errors essentially that are popping up in this conversation. It really makes you be like, sure, we can make the players better, but these bonehead things that are happening on the field, penalties and bad play calls, just add on to that like frustration, I guess, here.
Well, and it's something we've talked about for the last four years. I'm including this season is penalties. The Cowboys have had penalties, and that stems directly from your coach. I don't care what anyone says. You don't have your guys mentally prepared to not get those, and it's pre-snap penalties that kill me. Like I can't, I just do not understand that. Pre-snap penalties are just uncoached, undisciplined teams, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, a holding is going to happen. I'd rather see a holding than you let Dak get hit in the backside, right? But
or an unnecessary roughness or roughing hitting the receiver if he's going to be gone, and you just have to get a hit on him, right? Like I can deal with those. I can't deal with the constant 5-yard pre-snap penalties. Those drive me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, we had 9 for 50. Yeah. We had 9 penalties for 55 yards this last game.
And that shows it right there. Those are all 5-yard pre-snap penalties essentially.
Yep.
Those weren't big pass interference, or those weren't pass interference ones. Those weren't roughing the passer. Those weren't unnecessary roughness. Those are almost all pre-snap 5-yard penalties.
Yeah. Except for one, I guess.
Except for one, and it
that was a hold.
It was the hold, Tyler Guyton's hold. So, guys, I mean, it sucks, but we're getting our stripes.
Okay, so out of we just, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna you can tell me to shut my mouth even before I say this because I'm
Shut your mouth.
okay.
You dirty slut.
We've kind of sprinkled it through, but in terms of any positive takeaways from yesterday's game, and I'll say 2. So I'll steal 2 right out of the gate because I think these are easy ones. Brandon Aubrey's an easy one. He was the same Brandon Aubrey that we love. He showed up. Sometimes you are wondering, is it gonna fail at some point? Is that leg gonna fail? No, it didn't. Brandon Aubrey still showed up. And then Rico Dowdle. We saw exactly what happens when you give Rico Dowdle primary carries. Zeke wasn't there. So maybe there was this this negativity that was coming through the locker room where everyone feels like you need to include Zeke. But I was very happy with Dowdle's production yesterday. It just shows us that for the rest of the season, we do need to rely on Rico Dowdle a bit more for a run game. That's one of the positives that's my positive. I'll say Rico Dowdle. I won't steal anymore. Any thoughts from positives from yesterday's game that you guys
AJ,
liked?
I got an easy one I can dunk on. I like Overshown, man. He's fast. He's hungry. He's always moving forward. Did he miss a couple tackles? Yeah, but every time he missed them, the guy was still taken down either at the line of scrimmage or behind it. Overshown looks like the one shining bright spot of that 2023 draft. I know I've seen Ultra Cowboy say that in the chat already, but I think that's true. That 2023 draft class has not been good, but I think they got a real dog in Overshown. So I am happy with that.
And you said you're wearing your Overshown jersey for the rest of the year.
Rest of the year, man.
Okay.
Every single game.
I might as well. We might as well.
I think we're all in on Overshown. We're gonna Overshown our Overshown jerseys.
Unless somebody else can prove that, like BB, I got the BB jersey too. I got that fresh BB jersey that just got delivered. If he can show that he deserves it, I'll rock that shit also.
Yeah, I think I'll go. I'll stick with Overshown and just go with the next hot hand that pops up. Everyone, if I have the jersey, I'll give them their flowers. But I need to see something, and right now it's just Overshown. But my bright spot coming from, I don't know, how old's Carl Lawson with those 2 sacks?
Oh yeah,
good call.
Waking up the defensive line. I mean, they happened almost. It wasn't back to back, I don't think.
Very close.
It was
though.
very close.
So
well, one was a turnover. One was a forced fumble.
Yes. Yeah. So hey, I like that. How old is this guy? 29. So I don't know.
He's been a journeyman. He's bounced around a little bit, but he looked good yesterday, man.
2 tackles, 2 sacks.
Stepping into his own. Look, a guy like that who, if he, let's say he ends up with 5 sacks by the end of the season. I'm not saying he's a great replacement for Armstrong or Fowler, whoever else left the line there as well. But he could be, and so it's nice to see a guy like that show up, and he's still got some years left. But this could just be a really good game that he had, and I'd like to see more though. That's what I'm saying. So I'll be watching you, Carl Lawson.
No, that's a great pick because I kind of forgot about those in the shuffle of just in my cookie coma, my 7 cookie coma that I was in. I kind of missed out.
I thought you were gonna add a cookie count in the live reaction every single time you had a new cookie. Yeah, how many cookies we domed. They were good, and we gave some for the rest of the family. So I have another question for you guys because I'm feeling I'm gonna go off of some conversations that's happening in chat right now. We actually talked about it during the game yesterday when we saw that our season was starting to crumble. We started talking about coaching. So we already said fire Mike McCarthy. Okay, Mike McCarthy's out. What are we wanting for a coach next year? Alex was very vocal yesterday. I'm going to start off with what Boots, because obviously I asked a question. Boots said it in chat, and I'm going to go with Boots here. Boots wants Ben Johnson, the OC from Detroit, and he wants Al Harris as the DC. So move Harris up to DC and have Ben Johnson as that young, fresh head coach. That's kind of, I'm in line with that type of mentality. AJ, I know you were very vocal yesterday on the live stream on what you're wanting. And there's another name that you and I were talking about yesterday.
Well, I missed that because I think I was.
You were too busy eating cookies yesterday to hear that.
No, I was. Yeah, I was out of the room when you guys were talking. AJ, who are you thinking of?
Well, Ad, I think you're talking about Belichick.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the other name that's popping up in chat right now is Belichick.
First of all, Anyone would be fine. Not anyone would be fine, but any one of those names that you mentioned there, I think, okay, I'd be interested in. I need to go and read up on a little bit, but we do hear a lot about Ben Johnson and Al Harris, of course. That's in-house, right? Yeah, Al Harris is in-house. Belichick. Okay, so my two thoughts are this for the next coach is, number one, we got to be kind of realistic, because do you think Ben Johnson would want to come to the Dallas Cowboys where Jerry Jones has acted how he has? Like, that trade that he made for Trey Lance and it getting out that he didn't ask the coaching staff
is the worst thing you can say.
Most coaches are gonna, they're good, and Ben Johnson's gonna have a pick of the litter of available coaches. So I would love to see it, but realistically, Jerry needs to do some really big changes in his image, because no coaches are gonna want to come to do that. And Belichick, I don't know if he would even want to do that, but let's say that he does. I want to get away from older coaches. I want someone new and fresh and getting their first job at a coach, but someone with, like, I hate to say it, but Sirianni goes in there. He's an idiot, but he fits the Philly team. Okay. And for good or bad, like, I think we don't like him. We laugh at him, but I think that he really fits that Philly team, even if he's not a very good coach. So, and he's been there for a long time. So every coach eventually runs the end of their rope on a team. But he's had some very good years. I'm not trying to toot his horn, but
sounds like you want to suck his D, is what it sounds like.
Well, look what the Rams did. They bring in the youngest coach, and I know that's also tough to do. What's his name?
McVay, yeah.
And he's been on that team. He's now a veteran coach with high amounts of respect. Got them a
Super Bowl win. Yeah, and a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, so I would like to do that. I'd like to go with someone who's got something to prove, and not a Mike McCarthy or a Bill Belichick who might be a little stuck in their old path, because I think the NFL is
evolving.
It's evolved past that point. I don't think that they can't keep up, but I wouldn't want to bet on it over someone new. I also am not into going to get a college coach and bringing them up either.
No college coach. Not to a head coach. No, maybe to O-line, maybe the offensive coordinator or D coordinator if one of those positions become open. But that's that. Yeah.
Okay, so Alex, your thought is you want young blood in there as as a head coach position. And Ant, sorry, I know I want to hear what you think about this too. But what if you went with a guy like Belichick, but you had a younger guy come in as the offensive coordinator that is there to maybe invigorate the offense? There's still, obviously, when you get a guy like Belichick, I think when your and my discussion happened yesterday, when we talked about Belichick, you were absolutely right? Belichick probably wouldn't come to the Cowboys with a guy like Jerry Jones, who controls the entire organization, and Belichick would, in a sense, be handcuffed. And what I was saying to you in that was, if Belichick did come, it would probably be in his contract that he has a fair amount of control over the roster or the team or some sort of moves in order for him to come to an organization. So if Belichick did come in, it would mean that something from the front office possibly changed, or they agreed, which again, we both said we can't see either of that happening. So,
well, that's a good way, because AJ said he doesn't want Belichick, but let's just play because it's CanFan. Let's just play in our own realm.
Fuck with me,
what if Belichick comes, but he gets full GM responsibilities?
That changes things a lot. I would love, but Belichick would bring his team, I would hope. We do want to see some young blood in there, because a great idea would be Belichick does his thing for 3 to 5 years, however much time he has left in him, and builds up one of those two young guns, the O coordinator or D coordinator, to be his replacement. Like, that would be the ultimate way to do it, because then you're kind of keeping that group together. Now, that's all saying that, they have a winning or a positive looking outlook for the future.
Yeah. And that's all saying Jerry Jones is going to give up anything, which we don't think he's going to.
And we got to be smart out here, Cowboys Nation. I'm speaking to you. Don't harass Jerry too much, because he's too proud to to
Hey,
give
he'll
up that
fire us.
position.
He'll fire us
Well,
from
no.
our own podcast.
He's just too proud. He comes on. How the
He's
hell
like,
did
I'll
you do
fire
that?
you guys.
Hey,
We're
I
like,
want to
"What
be
the
on that
fuck?
CanFan podcast on the next Monday
I'll
Night
fire you
Hangover.
guys right now.
Yeah, you're fired.
the
First
hell?
off,
But-
you're a bunch of pussies to have hangovers.
Yeah. Just where there's sodium, they have low sodium intake. That's why they're getting them.
Salt it up.
But if he does, Jerry needs to be the one to make the decision that he's handing over the reins. He can't feel like he's forced out. He's too proud. He won't do it. So I know we have little, control over that. But just throwing that out there, he will not walk away feeling defeated from that. He needs to feel like I'm doing this, and
It was
you know,
his
I don't know.
decision. It was his
It was his
decision.
decision.
I gave up. I gave it up, and because I
Yep.
gave it up, that's the reason they had success. For me, I think
exactly.
because Jerry Jones, they've kind of hamstrung themselves into this weird situation. The only guys that are going to end up coming to coach for the Cowboys are guys like Mike McCarthy, guys that are kind of looking for that second chance, who the game may have passed them by. And the only way that they'll get hired as a coach is by knowing that Jerry Jones gets to kind of do a lot of these crazy things like trade for a 4th round backup quarterback, right? So I don't think any young coach should ever come to the Cowboys. If I was an up and coming young commodity, the last team I'm going to is the Dallas Cowboys, because I don't think the general manager has my best interest in. I think he has other biases and other outside interests for the team, which we know he does.
Yep.
He 100% does. So I think that kind of keeps away the young talent. So I think the Cowboys are kind of stuck in this old pool of coaches that time may have passed them by. And maybe the only gold mine that we could get is a Belichick who could convince Jerry, or because he comes with, say, a clause in his contract that he gets a little bit more pull or shove than other coaches would. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be the talk of the offseason. We're going to talk about it till we're blue in the face of who's going to be the next Cowboys coach. But we can all agree on it right now. Mike McCarthy will not be coaching the Dallas Cowboys in 2025. No.
I mean, the way the Cowboys.
I know we said this before too, that he wouldn't have been coaching in 2024. Who knows?
It's
Yeah, but that's before we were gaslit or whatever, not even gaslit, just led to believe that the Cowboys were all in, and that, we were all waiting for something to happen. And of course, we can admit it now, those 2 big signings got us all stoked for the season. And then, we should have just been told right from the get-go. Actually, you know what? In fact, just say less, Jerry.
Yep.
You didn't have to say anything. We could have put it together.
Yep.
But we had this hope inside of us, like, I don't know anyone else who comes out and speaks as much as Jerry Jones, although I only really pay attention to the Dallas Cowboys. So
yeah. Guys, well, I mean, all we can say is CanFan ain't going nowhere. Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are 3-5. Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are probably going to miss the postseason and have a very terrible rest of the season, but we're going to be there cracking them the whole way, having a good-ass time. And it's Eagles week. It doesn't take away that it's Eagles week, baby. And a win against the Philadelphia Eagles, that still feels nice no matter where you are. So if you know a Philadelphia Eagles fan, we got something you can tell them. How about you go tell them to go
Fuck themselves!
That's right, no chillin' BC, baby.